Okay, hello to the replay viewers. I am just getting everything set up and then we will begin. Let's see if Instagram will come up. Instagram will come up. Instagram will come up. I'm sorry, I'm trying to share it and I ended up I'm sorry, I'm trying to share it and I ended up okay, I think that is shared. My voice echoed from the other window that was open. Trying to get up on Instagram and then we will get started. I see there are people already hopping on. I don't know what it is. If Instagram doesn't come up, then we'll just go without Instagram. It's like we have so much that we have to put up just to go live, but that is okay. We will figure it out and we will make sure that we give you your weekly live content. I don't know why Instagram's not coming up. I guess Instagram's not going to be able to watch. Let's see if that helps. There we go. Okay. Okay, so I got us up on Instagram, but it is paused. For those who are on Facebook, just give me a second. It's like I have to put my phone in a certain place just for Instagram to work. There we go. See? Instagram works as long as the phone is on my right side. I am not sure why, but okay. So I see people have hopped on Instagram. We have people on Facebook. We can go ahead and get started. Tonight's topic is, should bloggers touch hot button issues? So I'm going to go into more of that question in tonight's live. So before I begin, I want to introduce myself and the group. My name is Bernetta R. Freeney, and I'm the organizer of the Houston African American Bloggers Association, otherwise known as HAB. HAB helps our members get paid, gain exclusive access to high connections, and stay up to date on the latest industry news, trends, and strategies. We do this because we know how challenging it is for African American voices to not only be heard, but to be respected and accepted in the online content creator world. So we're so excited because we have been keeping our members up to date on news, trends, and strategies. And this year we have been working to get them introduced to more high-level connections. With those high-level connections comes bigger paydays. So we are doing a lot of work, not grinding, because you know everybody can grind for the gram, but we are doing a lot of work to make sure that our members are positioned to be seen and positioned to be seen as an authority so that brands and businesses will work with them. So let's hop into tonight's topic. Should bloggers touch hot button issues? Well, 2017 seems to be the year of the activist. Not to say that years before they didn't exist, but this year more online content creators are using their platforms to speak up, and to speak up on issues that don't exactly align with their niche. I remember when Trayvon Martin was murdered, and a blogger took it upon herself to reach out to as many African American women bloggers to write posts and speak out and post on social media about this injustice. Many turned her down. Why? It didn't align with their niche. They didn't want to turn off sponsors. They didn't want to turn off advertisers. They didn't want to turn off their readers or their social media following. I, however, wrote a post and I spoke up. And I'm still speaking up on different issues to this day. Now, if you know me, if you follow me personally, then you know I've never been one to hold my tongue. So me speaking up didn't exactly not or did fit into my niche. It's just something that I do. I never looked at me speaking up on an issue that I felt was important as something that I needed to consider my blog or my platform before I considered the issue. I know for years a lot of bloggers felt that way. A lot of bloggers would look at their platform, consider the monetary opportunities they have, the media opportunities they have, and that's how they would base their decision on whether or not to speak up on certain situations, on certain issues. But it seems like that is changing just a little bit. Now it seems like more and more online content creators and influencers are speaking up, whether it's the kneeling during the anthem, the recently released Dove ad, police brutality, Flint water crisis, or what happened today with Jemele Hill. And we have not forgotten that Flint still needs clean water. That entire city should not be drinking, cooking, bathing, brushing their teeth, living life out of bottled water. That's just ridiculous. If we are the so-called superpower of the world, why can't we bring clean water to not only Flint, but also to Puerto Rico? Now I understand Puerto Rico is more recent, but these are issues. These are issues that we are having to deal with. These are issues that we are having to look at. These are issues that people who may read our blog, watch our YouTube channels, watch our lives, follow us on social media, listen to our podcast, they may be dealing with these issues even though we may not personally deal with these issues. They may, however, feel that no one is quote unquote speaking up for them. In that case, I would say, as the person that they turn to for fashion, for humor, for beauty, for technology, for business, for lifestyle, for DIY, whatever your niche is, they're looking for you as more than just that information. Once you become, or once you are seen as an authority by people who follow you, they are more likely to accept your opinion on other issues as well. So in that case, speaking on certain issues that you think may relate to your audience could be a good thing. Now, there's always going to be some blowback. There's always going to be people who are like, I didn't come to this blog for this, or I don't want to listen to this, whatever the case may be. That's their opinion. But at the end of the day, you have to take it upon yourself to think, what am I going to do with my platform? Am I going to not say anything about injustice, or not say anything about issues that are happening with people who possibly could be following me? Those are things you need to consider. So it goes back up to what I was saying about how some of the bloggers didn't want to contribute their voice to speaking out about what happened to Trayvon Martin. And some of those same bloggers, because I know who they are doing it now, but they didn't years ago. So I'm thinking, why now? Why all of a sudden are people speaking out on issues that are affecting them or the African American community? And it's not within their niche. Why are they speaking out about it now? Well, you know, honestly, there's a lot of different reasons, you know, but what I would like to think is, as a community, we are using our voices to say enough is enough. That we are continuing the fight that was started by our ancestors for equality, equal justice, and the opportunity to have all the rights in this country that we are entitled to. Because our issues are profitable as clickbait. I would say for some media platforms, yes. But for ours, it's not so much clickbait. Well, let me take that back. Depending on the site, there are some people who will just post because they know people will click. But overall, I think most people who are posting now or who have been posting genuinely really feel that issues are important to them. Issues need to be discussed. And think about it. Most bloggers are really good writers. Most bloggers will challenge your thoughts, even if it's just fashion, even if it's makeup, whatever the case may be. Really, really good bloggers usually are really good writers. And if you are a really good writer and you know that your words attract your readers and your audience and they keep coming back for more, you can actually take those words and you can write about an issue that you feel is important. Flint water crisis, Harvey, you know, us here in Houston, some of us are writing about that or using our social media platforms for that. Kneeling during the anthem, or, you know, I stand with Jamil Hill. I do personally. You can use your platform because people are going to follow your words. Now, is that clickbait? It really depends on what your motive is for using the issues that people are facing on your platform. Are you genuinely trying to educate people? Are you genuinely trying to spread awareness? Are you genuinely trying to get people to think so that they can act and help resolve the issue? Or are you just trying to get likes so you can get more advertisers? That is something to consider. But I personally don't think many of us are using certain issues as clickbait. I'm not an optimistic person, but I'm gonna go there for this issue. I just can't think that people would want to use certain issues as clickbait. Now, other medias like, you know, New York Times, Washington Post, yeah, some of their headlines are just, they make you wonder why there's no diversity in the editorial room. Like in Houston, let's take the Houston Chronicle. Houston Chronicle, there was this sweeping article written by The Root about the Houston Chronicle, how when you got to the top level, that means the editorial room, there, I believe at the time, there were like 3 minorities, 2 men, 1 woman, they were Hispanic. But the woman was leaving, she's going to, or she's probably gone now, but she was headed to work at a newspaper in Florida. With that being said, that means like no minority women are at the table at the Houston Chronicle at the very top level. And from my understanding, there are like a handful of African-American journalists at the Houston Chronicle. Now, let's think about this. The Houston Chronicle is the #1 newspaper here in the city. Houston being a diverse city, you would think that there would be more minorities at the local paper, but there's not. When there aren't people who look like the community they are trying to speak about or trying to reach, it does become tone deaf in a sense that their headlines, their articles, maybe their sources aren't something that works. Let's take the Dove ad. Now, I have not watched the entire ad, but I have seen the stills. I read the Black model's, what she had to say about it. And I did see a video where the video went past the stills that we see, the photographs that we see. And from all of that, what Dove said they wanted to say is that the lotion, body wash, whatever it is, was for everybody. So the purpose of their ad was for women of different ethnicities to take off the shirt to prove that it works for everyone. However, when it was released, the screenshots of going from black to white is what all people saw. They didn't see when the lady went from white to, I think she was Middle Eastern, or yeah, I think she was Middle Eastern. So it was different ethnicities. But going from black to white has significance. It has meaning. It's something that we as a community take offense to. We immediately get offended because it has a history behind it. It has that what we have as far as our natural hair or our skin color is not good enough, and we need to go to more European beauty standards. That's immediately what people think when you go from a black image to a white image. Now, if they had shown the whole video and maybe not put the women in that order, it probably still would have had some backlash, but maybe their messaging would have gotten across. Now, I am not taking up for Dove at all. I don't even use Dove products. But what I can say is if there were African-American people in the room, because originally, this is what, from my understanding, it was created by the UK team, and it was not created by the US team. Then it was released by another team, still not associated with the US team. As we go through all the channels of who created the Dove ad, it still comes to say they're not using African-American voices in the boardroom to make the decisions on what would work, what doesn't work, what is offensive, what's not offensive. Now, on the flip side, where I talked about bloggers not wanting to lose their advertisers or sponsors from earlier, a lot of African-American bloggers work with Dove. So is Dove saying it's okay for African-American bloggers to be ambassadors for them, but not okay for them to reach out to those exact same bloggers and get their opinion on something before they release it to the public? Because guess what? Now those bloggers are put in a very compromising position. Sorry, someone called me. Someone called me in the middle. Anyway, so now you're putting these bloggers in a very compromising position, because if you are a Dove ambassador and you are representing Dove, you're in contract with Dove, and they put out this ad. This ad is tone deaf. This ad is offensive to many people based on the photo still that was taken and passed around. Should those same Dove ambassadors speak out about people, the company, who's paying them? Or should they kind of just stay back and not say anything at all? This is the question that I'm asking. Should bloggers touch hot button issues? And it becomes a little stickier when those hot button issues were created by companies that are paying you to promote them as well. That in and of itself becomes, you know, do I give up my paycheck to speak out on something that's not right? Or do I speak up and just hope for the best? Well, we saw with Jemele that ESPN has suspended her for 2 weeks for saying exactly what needed to be said about Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys and how you really can make a stand by going after the advertisers and not supporting those businesses, and not so much calling the players who went out and stood sellouts. You got to go read her tweets. But there was nothing in those tweets that would warrant a suspension. However, ESPN says she violated a social media protocol. This was her second one. Everything that I'm saying are things that we as bloggers, we have to think about. We have to think about, what is it that we say? Is it going to be something that we could lose our 9 to 5? Somebody commented about how can African-American bloggers compete when most of us work full-time? A totally different live. But to kind of answer that question, we have to think about a lot more things than other people when in regards to speaking out on issues. Now, where I teach, I have a lot of leeway where I teach, because I teach refugees, and everybody in the office has had a lot to say, whether online or not online, whether publicly or privately, about the administration. So luckily for me, where I teach English, it's not that I can go and say anything deliberately hateful, but I can speak my opinions, and I'm not going to be punished. I'm not going to be taken off rotation or anything like that. So I have that little bit more flexibility than some people who have a job and their job may be watching or monitoring their social media. Someone says, because blackness costs and we have to weigh the cost. Yes, you do have to weigh the cost sometimes. But weighing the cost, you have to also say, how much is my silence worth? You know, and is holding your, the silence in, is that something you want to deal with mentally and emotionally as well? So going back to Dove, I don't want to spend a lot of time on Dove, but I'm using them as an example. If you are a brand ambassador and you see everybody's upset about them, should you speak out? Now, here's the thing with everyone on the whole Buy Black movement. Now, I am pro Buy Black. A lot of what I have in my home, I've switched out and have tried to find a Black-owned business that offers that particular item. The problem with that is we can shop with them, but we can't be brand ambassadors for them because they don't have the same amount of money as a Dove. They don't have the same amount of money as a Pepsi. Now, can we promote them? Can we, support them? Absolutely. But they can't financially support us as bloggers. So that is why a lot of bloggers will go to places like Dove, go to places like Pepsi, Coca-Cola, and become brand ambassadors for them. Then when they create some type of ad that misses the mark, completely offensive, now they're put in a different type of situation. And it makes it a little sticky. Can they or should they touch that hot button issue when they are now being paid by that exact same brand? And like Tashia said, because blackness costs and we have to weigh the cost. At that point, you have to start thinking about bills or community. And in a lot of cases, let's be honest, bills are going to take precedence over community. It's just going to happen. No one is going to want to become homeless for speaking out and supporting the community. 9 times out of 10, you're going to do what needs to be done to pay your bills. So that means you may not touch that hot button issue. You may take a few days off of social media and schedule all your posts because you don't want to have to deal with having to see it and not be able to say anything, or tempted to say something, but knowing that if you say something, you can lose a sponsorship. So it becomes very, very tricky. Now, is every issue for everyone? Absolutely not. It would be unhealthy and unwise to touch every issue. You have to find what pushes you to speak up and work on using your voice, your platform, to help create change. as bloggers, we are in a pretty sweet position to use our voice in a way that shifts movements. And if we have that position with an audience, why not use it for the betterment of our community? Now, there's millions of issues out there that we probably don't even know about that are happening right here in our own communities. It's probably a lot of stuff happening right here in Houston that we, i.e. me, may not even be aware of. But is it wise for me to go out and try to find every issue and speak up? Absolutely not. I'm not going to go crazy to try to bring awareness or attention to every issue that's out there. What I can do is the issues that are presented to me, make a decision. Do I have enough time, and do I have the mental and emotional capacity to say something about this issue more than one post? We have to think of it in terms that way. Also, if I say something about this particular issue, am I ready for the consequences that may come with it? Consequences that may come with it: loss of sponsorship, loss of advertiser, or an advertiser who may have been watching, who wanted to work with me, may have decided not to work with me after they saw that I spoke up on this issue. Maybe losing some followers or losing some subscribers because they don't like the issue that I'm speaking about. Those are things you do have to consider before you run out and say anything about an issue. As a blogger, you do have to make a decision before you post online, because the moment you post, somebody's going to screenshot it. Even if you delete it, someone's going to have proof that you said it. And that in and of itself could bring, you know, some unwanted attention to you. You know, there was a very well-known, very popular blogger months back, said something that offended people. This blogger is not a Black American, but an African American, and said something to offend Black Americans, and it just got really out of control. What I'm trying to say to you guys is we can't act in emotion. We can't hop on a situation and immediately say something, because we have to weigh the cost. We have to think about, if I say something on this particular issue, then I need to know that if somebody decides not to work with me, I need to be okay with that. I speak on what I feel is necessary. I'm not overly political, but very community-based. There is a difference, but the line is thin. Absolutely. I would say I'm political. I'm not gonna lie. I've been involved in politics. I've really liked politics since I was like in middle school. So I always have something to say. However, that is a very, very good comment, that you can be community oriented with saying things that advertisers and sponsors won't find offensive. But if it becomes more of a political thing, then that may jeopardize your money. And in that case, you need to weigh the cost. You need to think about the decision that you are going to make before you post something. Now, with the Dove ad, again, I don't want to use Dove, but that's the thing that's just kind of been out there. And I'll talk about Jemele Hill in a moment. But with the Dove ad, a lot of people only saw the photo. They didn't see the whole ad. And like I said, I didn't see the whole ad, but I saw the clip, the video clip, after the Black model took off her shirt and the white model took off her shirt. And there was another model, I believe she was Middle Eastern, took off her shirt. So people made opinions based on one part that they saw. You have to think about, these hot button issues are becoming a lot more frequent because we're not also taking the time to look at everything. Now, I'm not saying at all that Dove was right, because if you saw what happened after the from Black to white to the Middle Eastern, it didn't make sense. It was a very confusing thing. But what I am saying is we are always, we're always jumping on things now because someone commented earlier, clickbait. You know, today, all up and down my Facebook timeline was, let's talk about Dove. All on Instagram was boycott Dove, buy Black. Probably a few hours ago, literally, I'm glad I hopped on Twitter because it, I would have never known about what happened to Jemele and probably tell you tomorrow. But all up and down Twitter was, I stand with Jemele Hill. Now with Jemele, we all know the situation of why she is being targeted. She is using her platform. She is considered an influencer. Let's just be honest. She is using her platform to speak out on issues. She is using her platform to say something and to bring awareness and attention to certain situations, certain issues. But she's never been shy about that. She's never deleted something. She's never retract her words. That is part of her brand. Truth. Honesty. That is part of Jemele Hill's brand. That's why people like her. So for ESPN to target her because Trump is not happy that she is speaking, using her platform to speak her truth, well, you know, everybody's truth really, about him, she probably knew what would happen if she continued, and that didn't stop her. And I do have to say kudos to her co-host, Michael, because from what I understand, he's not going on without her. I'm not sure if he's going to do the whole 2 weeks without her, but, you know, he's standing by his partner, you know. But a lot of us may not have other opportunities that Jemele could possibly be introduced to. She has a large audience. She has a very well-established platform. So she can touch hot button issues and she probably can move on and be okay. A lot of us own our own platforms. We're doing our own things, our own podcasts, our own YouTube channels, our own blogs. We do not have maybe the connections that Jemele has. We may not have the monetary backing that Jemele may be able to find if she decides to leave ESPN and go somewhere else. So should a blogger who doesn't have that type of network to help further a step, should they touch a hot button issue? Again, that is definitely something you have to think about. Okay, based on that, how do you stay true to self? I think that is key. I also think you have to be true to your voice and your brand. You do. And here's the thing. When I mentioned earlier about maybe fashion bloggers and beauty bloggers, and they start speaking about social injustice, and people say, how is that related to fashion and beauty? Well, here's one thing. Their audience are people who don't just live in fashion and beauty world. Also, when Rihanna came out with Fenty Beauty and had the 40 shades, that in and of itself really exposed the beauty industry for lack of makeup for women of color. I mean, honestly, I don't wear makeup because a lot of it just makes me look ashy. I mean, it's just not good. It's just not good. And so I never really got into it. But how do you stay true to yourself without offending your audience, but bringing awareness about a social issue or a hot button issue? You have to think, is this something you would talk about offline, face-to-face with your girlfriends or your guy friends? We do have guys who watch and who are in the group. Would you talk about this offline? If so, then figure out how to weave it in to your niche. And sometimes you don't even need to weave it in, you just need to say it. But if it's something you probably wouldn't talk about, then that means you don't have a lot of knowledge on it and you don't have a lot of experience with it. And if you say something, it may not come off as authentic. It may come off as, you know, you trying to jump in on a hashtag or jump in on a trend. If it is something that you do talk about, then use the words that you say to your friends when you're talking about that issue in your blog post, in your YouTube video, in your podcast. Now, we do know a lot of podcasts are very political if you've never listened to a lot of them. But most blogs aren't that political. Most blogs stick to a niche and they try not to deviate, but times are changing. How to stay true to yourself is speak on an issue that you would speak on an issue offline. That way you have more than just regurgitated information that you've copied from seeing other people post online. That would be my suggestion. I do a lot of reading. You see the bookshelf behind me. I do a lot of reading. I do a lot of research. I have a lot of information and knowledge about different topics and subjects, but am I always going to talk about them? No. Why? Because if you really are concerned and interested in a hot button issue, then you are going to spend some time sharing information about that. Now with me, I wrote a blog post last year. I think it was something like 10 things you can do past the hashtag. What bothers me personally, and this is not Hab, this is Vernetta personally, is when people hop on a hashtag just to hop on a hashtag, but they aren't up to date and they have not tried to become up to date on the information on why that hashtag exists. Or they're like, I want to do something else, but then they don't. So I wrote a blog post, 10 things to do beyond the hashtag, because if you really want to create change, here are 10 things that you can do. I think I did all of them as to why I was able to write that. But that's something I've been saying for years. It's something that I do personally. So I have that experience to be able to share on what you can do past the hashtag. Now, when we talk about all of these different hot button issues, I believe there's some wildfires going on right now in California. Puerto Rico is still devastated. We haven't even touched the Virgin Islands because everyone is sending help to Puerto Rico. Tim Duncan, shout out to Tim Duncan. He has not forgotten his homeland. He has been working really hard to send stuff to the Virgin Islands. Houston and surrounding area, we're still recovering from Harvey. There's Florida recovering from Irma. Flint still has no water. I believe you pronounce her name Kanika Jones. I mean, like they mentioned that her death was an accident. I have been following that. You know, that got a lot of people stirred up. That was something a lot of people talked about. How could this young girl walk into a freezer and no one knows, no one sees anything, and the next thing we know, she's dead. So there is a lot going on, and I didn't even mention the kneeling, the anthem, the protests that are happening in Charlottesville yet again. So there's a lot of things that are happening that we see in the news, and then there's a lot of things we don't see happening because it's not in the news. All of these are hot button issues because it's going to piss someone off. That's what a hot button issue is. It's going to piss somebody off. I mean, like, honestly, I've been unfriended by I don't know how many people from high school because I needed them to point out where was it written that we had to stand for the national anthem. Because they couldn't prove their point, they just unfriended me. So you will have situations like that where people can't back up what they need to say. So since they can't back up what they need to say, they just unfriend you, and I'm pretty sure they're saying some things about me, but that's okay, because at the end of the day, I know that I can take talking about a hot button issue, and if I'm not going to be able to work with a sponsor or an advertiser because of it, I would choose to speak out more than I would choose to work with a company that will silence my voice. That is a personal opinion. Now with HAB, we tried to keep it non-political. But like the comment Brandy made, we tried to keep it community oriented. We try to speak on things that are happening in the Houston African American community. But we are not trying to come into the political realm of conversation. Why? Because we have people from conservative to liberal in the group. And, you know, 40+ voices. We all have a different voice when it comes to politics. We are a diverse collective. So there's no way for us to be able to hop into the political part of hot button issues without silencing the voice of some of our members. So we put our members ahead of hopping on I hate Trump type of bandwagon. Now, will members post on their political platforms how they feel? Absolutely. And we don't have anything to say about that because that is their voice. That's why we have a collective, so that everybody can share their particular voice. But as a collective, we will continue to keep our voice community-based, like Brandy said, community-based and not political. Now, are we doing this for sponsorships or advertisers? Not really, because a lot of the brands and businesses we work with are usually Black owned. Now, we have worked with Toyota and they continue to work with our members. So far, we haven't seen anything offensive from Toyota. And Toyota seems to do a lot, and they work really hard to try to really target the African American community. So we like working with them. But as a collective, we do have to understand that it is our job as the leaders to make sure our members get paid. So we cannot put our personal opinions in the place of a group's opinion. So we will talk about things that are happening in Houston, but we will not talk about the politics and who we like and don't like. And, you know, will we talk about what should happen with Houston recovery? Absolutely. We've had members who lost cars, who, you know, were displaced, who lost things. So yeah, we will continue to look at resources. We will continue to share resources on the recovery. That's community-based. Even though that is an issue, it's not a hot button issue. A hot button issue will be saying something about the governor. And I have said plenty about the governor on my personal page. But as a group, we will not say anything about the governor and what he is or he is not doing for the recovery. Now, we will applaud our mayor for doing all that he is doing, the city council for doing all that they're doing, Judge Ed Emmett for doing all that he's doing. Like, they are really working to make sure that the city recovers. You know, our first responders, they selflessly worked round the clock to make sure people were safe during the week that it just continued to pour water. That's not a political thing. You can say thank you and leave it at that. We don't need to say anything about HPD and what they're doing, what they're not doing as far as issues regarding the African American community. So it goes back to what the comment was saying. There's a very thin line, and you have to know the difference. If you are okay with touching topics that you know will turn brands off from working with you, go right ahead. If you want to work with brands, then you need to probably think about some of the issues you want to address. But going back to the original question, should bloggers touch hot button issues? My personal opinion is, it's up to you. because I can't say you should or you shouldn't, because at the end of the day, we all have bills to pay. We all watched that Facebook Live I did about we don't work for exposure. So we do have bills to pay, and we do know that that is a priority. Your home takes precedence over your community, and that's a personal opinion. But should bloggers touch hot button issues? That is something you have to consider, and you have to consider the cost that goes with touching an issue that will repel sponsors and advertisers and possibly lose you some followers. Or should I touch this issue and speak up because my community needs my voice added to the conversation? That is something you have to consider. So today's live, it wasn't a lesson on how to blog, podcast, or anything like that. It's a lesson on why using your voice matters in time of need. People listen to you. People look up to you. People respect you. So why not share resources, stories, experiences that helps your readers, listeners, viewers begin to think critically on issues that affect the African American community? So that seemed like a little heavy topic, but I want you to think about that. I wasn't on here to tell you the latest thing that's happening as a Facebook feature or what you can do to make money as a blogger. We will have lots of lives for that. But I wanted you to think about using your voice to speak up on issues that are important or that are affecting our community. Because at the end of the day, you have a voice that already has an audience. And should you touch those issues, should you give your opinion, share resources, give information to your audience about a certain issue? That's what I wanted to talk about tonight. Now, for those of you who want to blog, want to jumpstart, restart your blog, we do have a 30-day blog challenge. It is absolutely free. You do not have to sign up for anything. We are not collecting your email. We are not having you, be on some list. All you have to do is go to our Facebook page, Houston African American Bloggers Association, join the 30-day blog challenge event, and all the prompts will be there. You post as you complete the topic of the day. We'll read, we'll share, and we just kind of want to give you some things to help you kind of get back in the groove. We know as holidays come, people get overwhelmed, people feel that they don't have time to blog, so we're trying to help give you some topics so that you have content that you could just share through November and December and may not have to create new content unless, you're one of those DIYers or food bloggers who have to share recipes or something like that I probably like to read. So go ahead and join the blog challenge. And also, you may be able to find your voice if you do want to start talking about hot button issues. You may be able to figure that out through the challenge. So again, the challenge is on our Facebook page. Have 30-day blog challenge, absolutely free. You don't need to sign up for it. Go to the event and join the challenge. We are also running our blind faith tickets. That means you can purchase your ticket to our blog bootcamp next year. It is on August 4th, 2018. You can purchase it now for $35. Next year, when we go for early bird, it will not be $35. So if you want a seat at the bootcamp, I really encourage you to go ahead and get your blind faith ticket so that you make sure you have a seat. We sold out this year, and we get out there and work. So that is our goal next year, is to make sure that the venue that we move to, because we do have to move to a bigger venue, the venue that we move to, we also sell that out. So make sure that you go ahead and get your ticket now so you have a seat at the blog bootcamp. Next year, we are focusing on video and audio. And last thing, if you are an African American online content creator, that means you are a blogger, podcaster, or vlogger in the Houston area, go ahead and join HAB. We have some amazing things that we're creating, that we're coming up with for our members. We have a library full of trainings. and is really a place for you to be able to learn, grow, and feel that you have a community supporting you in your blogging endeavors. So that is all I have tonight. Thank you all for watching, for the comments. You can always go to our Facebook page or our YouTube channel and catch all past Facebook Lives on any of the topics. I will probably get back to actually teaching on blogging topics next week, but this week I wanted to ask a question and I want you to think about it. Should bloggers touch hot button issues? That is all. Thank you for joining, and we will see you next Monday, 7 p.m. Don't forget our Twitter chat is 6 p.m. every Sunday, and it is hashtag HAAB, HAAB chat. We'll see you next week.